Myalgic encephalomyelitis is a distinct neurological disease that has existed for centuries. ME is an acute, sudden-onset neurological disease that has systemic effects. ME is a testable and measurable disease. Myalgic encephalomyelitis can be at least as disabling as MS, and in some cases the disease is fatal. There are more than 60 different neurological, cardiac, metabolic, and other ME symptoms. ME is caused by a virus, an enterovirus, and occurs in both epidemic and sporadic forms. Over 60 outbreaks of ME have been recorded worldwide since 1934. Chronic fatigue syndrome, in contrast, is not a distinct neurological disease. It is not a distinct disease at all. CFS was created in the 1980s for the benefit of various vested interest groups. A diagnosis of CFS does not mean that a person has any distinct disease, and that includes ME. CFS is a non-diagnosis, or a wastebasket diagnosis, based on medically unexplained fatigue. Every diagnosis of CFS is a misdiagnosis, in other words. CFS is made up of patients with a vast array of different and unrelated diseases, or with no disease at all. ME and CFS could not be more different. Using these two different terms interchangeably makes no logical or scientific sense. The increasingly common use of mixed terms such as ME/CFS and CFS/ME is also illogical and very problematic. The term ME/CFS makes no more sense scientifically than terms like MS/CFS, AIDS/flu, or cancer/diabetes. It's just crazy. None of the justifications made for embracing the term and concept of ME/CFS hold up. Putting ME together with CFS doesn't add to the credibility of CFS. It just strips ME of credibility and scientific legitimacy as well, which seems to be the entire point of the exercise, leaving lots of ill people with no power and little access to financial, medical, and other costly supports. Some of the most common justifications for the ME/CFS concept include the following. Number 1, the claim that ME patients have to use the term CFS and ME/CFS because some of the research which may possibly involve a number of ME patients has been done under the name CFS is unreasonable. Of course we should reference such research if it is relevant, but this could very easily be done by writing a short explanation of the confusion between ME and CFS and why a very small amount of the research done under the name CFS does relate to some extent to ME, and including this in each article or piece of research. Number 2. The claim that the term ME/CFS enables those ME patients misdiagnosed with CFS to be able to find information about ME doesn't hold up to scrutiny. Again, this is an important function of advocacy groups, but it is misleading to suggest that this can only be done by compromising the terminology we use and the definitions we use. It could be done so simply with a short explanation at the top of the page, where the term ME is first used, and included in full at the bottom of the page. Number 3. The claim that ME/CFS is a temporary term and that eventually the CFS part will be dropped and that ME patients' only chance for change is gradual change is false. This strategy has been tried for the last 20 years and it has failed. Trusting that if we compromise the terminology and definitions now, we will be rewarded ultimately is just fanciful. Renaming CFS as ME would be disastrous. Absolutely disastrous and a huge step or even leap backwards. There is no such disease as CFS, and CFS is merely an artificial entity created for the benefit of financial vested interest groups. That's the real problem, not the name CFS. Number 4. The claim that ME patients and others have to use this term because it is used in the 2003 Canadian ME/CFS definition is also flawed. This definition is a mix of ME and CFS and does not select a 100% ME patient group. Patients with lots of other diseases than ME qualify for this diagnosis of ME/CFS. It's another wastebasket diagnosis. As with the updated version of this criteria known as the ICC, these documents strongly suggest that ME and CFS are the same, and that ME is a wastebasket diagnosis defined by medically unexplained fatigue. The ICC actually states that the correct name for CFS is ME. These CFS redefinitions, no matter which terminology they use, or whether they include a small amount of ME information as window dressing to the core CFS features, do not justify the widespread use of the term ME/CFS by ME advocates or by anyone else. The ME/CFS concept just doesn't make any sense. For every problem it supposedly solves, it creates many more. The real question we should be asking is who does benefit from ME being mixed with CFS? The answer is that powerful financial vested interest groups, such as the medical insurance industry, the vaccine industry and the government, are saving themselves millions of dollars through this obfuscation. The groups that benefit from ME/CFS are the same groups that benefited from the creation of CFS. The terms and concepts of ME/CFS and CFS/ME lets faux advocacy groups have it both ways. They can continue with their unscientific and unethical CFS misinformation agenda, and they get to do so with far less opposition from the patients they may be harming, or even with the support of some of these patients and patient groups who were taken in by the superficial appearance of progress conferred by a mere terminology mix. This is why ME/CFS articles and studies are even more dangerous in many ways than pure psychological CFS ones. The issue is not that ME/CFS just isn't a very good solution that won't do much good, as many people have been arguing. There's so much more at stake here. Not only will ME/CFS not help, it can and will make things so much worse. It'll make the truth about ME even more invisible or inaccessible by hiding it in plain sight. Make it harder than ever for anyone to separate ME out from the vague mess of CFS, or for those misdiagnosed as CFS that don't have ME to receive a correct diagnosis and appropriate treatment, as is their basic right. The ME/CFS concept is confusing, illogical, and reinforces the same misinformation at the root of our problem, that ME and CFS are the same. Ultimately, it lessens the impact of legitimate facts about ME and cuts it off from its 80-year history, previous case studies, research and definition, and its correct WHO classification. Likewise, it harms those diagnosed with CFS who don't have ME and cannot benefit from research on other patient groups, and particularly mixed patient groups. Successful patient advocacy groups and campaigns have achieved success in the past through a determination to fight for what is scientifically and ethically right, refusing to compromise themselves in their integrity. We have to do the same if we want the same type of success. When people use the term ME/CFS, it should set alarm bells ringing for you. Those who compromise terminology also very nearly always have compromised definitions. ME/CFS virtually never refers to genuine ME information without a good dollop of CFS misinformation added. Most often when the term ME/CFS is used, the text refers to a bizarre mix of facts relating both to ME and to CFS, or instead purely facts relating to any of the various CFS definitions. Information which uses the term ME, but which ignores the known scientific facts on ME and instead embraces descriptions and definitions of CFS, or ME/CFS, should also set your alarm bells ringing. The term ME is of course only correct when it is applied to facts relating to an ME patient group. The artificial CFS construct is no more a scientifically accurate description of ME than it is a scientifically accurate description of MS, lupus or polio. This pretense of ignorance about ME and about the reality of CFS, particularly by government, has had devastating consequences for people with ME and all those with non-ME illnesses who are misdiagnosed as having CFS. The term, and more importantly the concept of ME/CFS, just doesn't make sense. Why should ME patients weaken our position so much for no good reason? Because, make no mistake, the facts about ME and its history are a far more compelling true story than any wishy-washy tales advocating the false disease category of CFS or ME/CFS. As patients, we need to be aware that although an article might mention some facts about ME along with a lot of CFS misinformation, or use the terms ME/CFS or CFS/ME, or even use the term ME, it's not good enough. It isn't even a step in the right direction, it's a step backwards. Calling a wastebasket disease category by a new name offers the patient no useful insight into the cause, management and treatment of their illness. It actively impedes their search for useful information and their search for real help. CFS research and ME/CFS research on mixed patient groups, as all of it is, helps nobody, despite CFS researchers endlessly promising patients the world again and again. Some of those groups that support ME/CFS have a tie to the vested interest groups involved, while others are clearly motivated by their own personal interests or by concerns over funding from financial stakeholders. Undoubtedly, some patients are just too ill and too disabled to do more than very basic reading or to engage in critical thinking, and so have been persuaded to support ME/CFS by other advocates that they've trusted to steer them in the right direction. You can help those with ME and those diagnosed with CFS that do not have ME by opposing the ME/CFS concept. The infectious disease known since 1956 as myalgic encephalomyelitis already has a historically and medically correct name and definition and WHO classification. We also have clear definitions and names for fibromyalgia, post-viral fatigue syndromes, post-traumatic stress disorder, burnout, Lyme disease, candida, adrenal exhaustion, cancer, depression, athletes overtraining syndrome, and most of the other hundreds of illnesses commonly misdiagnosed as CFS. The only thing that makes any sense is for us to fight together without compromise to get rid of CFS in name and in definition, and to have patients correctly diagnosed with and treated for whichever illnesses they actually have, including ME, in a scientific and ethical manner without interference by financial vested interest groups.